Good afternoon. Welcome to the Makayla Simone Show. I am your host, Makayla Simone, challenging all you leaders out there to live your success on purpose. I want to challenge you by interviewing individuals who are believing and achieving their dream. Stay tuned right here on k-ru.org from 12 to 1 p.m. with Makayla Simone.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody who is tuned in right now. Whether you're in a different part of the world, whether you're here in Kansas City, you're back here on the Makayla Simone Show here on k-ru.org. And I am just so excited to be back with you all. It is Wednesday, October 18th, 2017. And just before we dive into the show, we have a lot to cover today, a lot of people that are coming in. So I just want to remind you all to tweet me at Makayla Simone H if you have any questions, comments, or you can text the radio station number 816-287-0090 for any of your requests or things you may have heard on today. And so I'm going to jump right in. Well, so guys who are listening out there, I have some super, super exciting news for you all. I was selected one of Inc. magazine's 30 under 30 honorees, and I have some amazing leaders here right in this studio right now who have also been selected for Inc. magazine's 30 under 30. So can you guys just make some noise and say, hey, this who's in here? Woo! Inc. magazine in here. And so I'm just really excited for you guys that are going to be on. People probably wondering, who are these people that she's talking about? And like you said, we're on Facebook Live right now. And so we're going to kind of get going here. So I'm just kind of chiming in here. Were any of you guys surprised that you got selected for 30 under 30? I know that I was like, oh, really? Like I started wondering like, okay, who selected me and trying to figure out who my family, somebody selected me, like, look, just take it. And I was just so, just super overwhelmed. I'm like, wow, me? You think I am a great leader here in Kansas City? And so, I don't know if you guys just kind of want to jump in. How did it feel to get that email saying that you were nominated and then later on that you were selected?
I thought it was spam. When I got the email, I thought it was spam. And my husband had seen it and he's like, hey, did you see that you were nominated? And after I read it, wow, I think this might actually be legit. And then just like you, I started wondering, well, who was it that nominated me?
Yes, anybody else?
I was definitely surprised because I'm only 21, so I got the email. I was like, oh no, I'm so stressed about finals. I still feel very young, and so it's kind of like a very surreal moment.
And then you can kind of go down to that, Mike. Yes.
Sure. So yeah, when I got the email, same feelings. Is this real? What is this? I quickly started stalking Inc. magazine about past years, and then started getting intimidated because I saw people last year who wrote books, and I said, "Am I good enough to be on this list?" So no, it was. And then once I realized that it was real, I was extremely honored, and then I started stressing over how to answer these questions.
Right.
Right. Super flattered.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I want to do right now, I want you guys to just kind of go around the room and say your name and then your favorite restaurant here in Kansas City.
Well, I'm Burch. I'm editor of Startland News magazine that reports on entrepreneurship in Kansas City. Favorite restaurant? That is a tough one. I love Extra Virgin.
I've never had that, so I have to try.
Crossroads. So good.
I'm Geony Rucker. I'm a sexual violence educator and advocate. And my favorite restaurant in Kansas City, I'm going to have to go with the Peanut because of the wings.
I love the Peanut. Their wings are absolutely amazing.
They take forever, but they're awesome.
Yes.
Sheldon, Neal, owner of Energy Studios and president of House of Compassion, a group home in the inner city. Favorite restaurant. I wish I could just say barbecue because almost any place will have my heart, just depending on how I feel. Q39, Jack Stack.
Jack Stack,
yeah.
Yes.
I'm Sara Lee. I'm the CEO of Project Consent, which is a nonprofit against sexual assault that I started when I was 17. And honestly, my favorite restaurant has to be Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake Factory. So I'm going to start with you, Bobby. You are said that you are the editor of Startland News, and as I was reading your article, there was a lot of us. So I said, okay, I'm gonna reach out who I can. This is a great opportunity because this is what the Makayla Simone Show is about. It's to showcase entrepreneurs and leaders and people who are just pushing things in the community and how they can inspire other people to just chase their dreams and to really take leaps, their fears that they are afraid to do. Like, that's why I bring in people like you who are going to motivate and inspire those. So, Bobby, I saw that you led a digital news team that reports on entrepreneurs and innovative ideas and progressive action in Kansas City area. So, could you tell me more about that and kind of Startland News and just kind of how you got started with that?
Yeah. And so we started about 2.5 years ago. It's startlandnews.com. It's a digital magazine. So as you know, there's been a ton of entrepreneurial excitement and energy in Kansas City in the last 5 years, and well before that, but really it's been catalyzed kind of by Google Fiber coming in. And so what Startland News represents is a storyteller and a voice behind the community and behind the creative ideas that are being built in Kansas City. And so that's what we hope to highlight with our send out newsletters each week and publish about 15 stories a week.
All right, and so that's amazing. And I also saw that you've lived here for 3 years.
Yep,
Is that
I'm a
true?
relative newbie. Yeah, I lived in Morris for a few years before that as I was going to school, and then I'm from Wichita originally.
So do you find yourself still adjusting to the culture here in Kansas City? I mean, 3 years in Kansas City, but I mean, how has it been for you? Because sometimes it's not easy for people to kind of find their way in the city, and they're like, oh, this is a small town, there's really nothing for me. And so how was that adjustment for you?
It's been a pretty smooth adjustment. I used to report at the Kansas City Business Journal before this, and so I commuted in and kind of got acquainted with the business community through that reporting stint. And but it's been fantastic. I mean, this is such a warm and embracing community, one that is really, I feel like, taking me in. I've learned just so much from all the people that I've reported on, but just developed a lot of friendships through that as well. So, often it's the cliches about Kansas City that you hear, the jazz, the barbecue.
Yes.
True.
So have you been down on 18th and Vine?
Oh, yeah. No,
I
huge.
love the
Yeah.
18th and Vine district. And I think some people are like, oh, it's just the same stuff. But if you really pay attention, like, they bring in so many different artists. And I know one of my cousins, Ryan Lee, I don't know if anyone knows him, but he does a lot of pushing music on, he's down on 18th and Vine line. So I do love the culture down there. It's really diverse and for people to just kind of come together and meet. And so, one of my questions for you would be, first of all, where did you graduate from?
I went to the University of Kansas.
You went to
Yeah,
University of
yeah.
Kansas. You said you were from Kansas, right?
Yeah.
So, what motivates you to just get up every morning and create and to just say, I am going to do what I can to help others and to, pushing those entrepreneurs and getting those innovative ideas? What motivates you to do that?
Yeah, there's a lot that is motivating me. Probably the biggest thing is the challenge of building something, and what Startland has represented for me and for the people that I work around is an opportunity to create a storytelling platform to see how people have responded to that. But furthermore, it's the impact that we want to have in the community. We want to reflect the amazing projects and ideas and progressive actions that are being taken in Kansas City to make it a better place. And so there's just an abundance of stories to be told. So it's kind of a little bit about the urgency of wanting to get out and tell stories.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Bobby. And now I just want to kind of pass over to Sara. Hi, Sara Leah. And you are 20 years old.
I actually just turned 21.
You just turned 21.
As of a month ago, yeah.
As a month ago, you just turned 21. So I looked at you and you're like, oh my gosh, she is just turned 21 and she has done some amazing things here and in other parts of the world too. So I saw that you started a nonprofit at the age of 17, Project Consent.
Yep.
And I saw that you work with the White House in its own, the campaign to reduce sexual assault on college campuses. So how was it like for you being 17? And because that's when I started my nonprofit, no freshman, but I started at the age of 17 you're actually the first person I've met here in Kansas City who also have started a nonprofit at the age of 17. So that's amazing. But what was it like for you? Because you're 17, where you maybe have just been graduating or still in high school. What was it like for your peers? Like, they're like, was it like more of they were behind it, or were some people like, why do you want to do that?
It was really interesting because I was still a junior in high school. So at the same time, I was, trying to find a prom date, but also run this massive organization. So it was a weird, best of both worlds. And that's sometimes the worst of both worlds, because I was surrounded by like high schoolers who didn't want to talk about sexual assault, and that was part of the problem because no one wanted to talk about it, and it made them very uncomfortable. And I think that because people were uncomfortable with the subject, a lot of them kind of, lashed out and kind of made fun of it and kind of was like, this is stupid, this is unnecessary, like blah, blah, blah. And that was a rough 2 years of my high school career, but I would have to say at the end of the day, it's worth it because hopefully those people have grown now. And, especially with recent events, they are coming to see that sexual assault is still a huge problem around the world.
Yes.
And we can all do something to reduce that a little bit.
And I think, like you said, you look back and it's something to be proud of because there are a lot of young girls and women who are coming out about this issue, about sexual assault. And I also I was looking at I couldn't even name everything that you did on this paper, but I saw that you worked for the Dog Catalog, MTV, Miss Heard magazine, Gilmore Girls. And so how was that like? I mean, you talked about, and you were trying to balance life as a college student. So how was that like for you? And just when you were starting all these things, 17 to now 21, how was that like trying to balance school life?
It's definitely very time consuming. I have 3 separate planners just to keep track of everything, which sounds a little bit excessive, but as it turns out, you really do need all 3. But it's really just about finding the time and like prioritizing what you want to do and what's important. Because they're nice when I want to go out with my friends and like hang out, but I also have something more important to do. So there's sacrifices that you make, but it's still worth it.
And that's good because some people don't realize that the sacrifice that you have to make in order to be successful. Sometimes I can't go with my friends. I have stuff to take care of for my career, my success, and sometimes you lose friends through that, and that's a sacrifice because you lose some of the greatest friends that you thought. I mean, when I got married, before I got married, some of the high school friends, I was just like, she's gonna be my wedding, and oh my gosh, we're gonna have family around the same time. And you realize the more, as you start to succeed, those friends kind of fall off, and you don't realize why they had to. And because after that, you just get surrounded with people who can encourage you, who can motivate you, and also it's like iron sharpening iron. So that's amazing that you are doing so. I was just really inspired by that. I think you're one of the youngest on the Ink Under 30, as I saw. Yeah. You're one of the youngest. So I want to go ahead and go to Geony. Yeah. And so Geony, tell us what you mentioned early in the show, but what are you things that you're active in the community?
Yeah, so I'm a sexual violence educator and advocate. So I work with a couple different organizations. MOCSA, the Metropolitan Organization to Counter Sexual Assault, is really where all of this work started. With them, I did hospital advocacy. So if somebody's sexually assaulted and they go to a hospital, the hospital notifies MOCSA and they send out an advocate to go and sit beside them during the exam. If they want to report, we can explain what that process looks like, because that can be really scary. And since nobody talks about sexual assault, they don't know what the reporting process looks like. No, it is not like Law and Order where it's an hour and they find him and goes to jail right away. Like this can be 2-3 years long. And then outside of MOCSA, I'm on the board at Casey Street Hope, which is an anti-trafficking organization.
Saw you guys last weekend at the A21.
Yeah.
Speaking of A21, and walk that we did, because I interviewed Brendan Hart Casey last week, and the walk was just amazing because you saw children, men, women coming out and fighting against this issue of human trafficking. I mean, people who are sexually exploiting children, men. I mean, the story of one of the guys said, I didn't even know men, like, people saw them as a target. And so how was that experience for you in Casey Street Hope out there, just with all these people who said, we're gonna stand for this and fight against it by being silent and walking for this issue so it can raise awareness?
Yeah. I thought it was really awesome to see so many people come out, and it was a silent walk, a silent single file walk. Everybody wore black. So it sounds funny thinking that, but if you were there and you witnessed it, it was really powerful that it was silent, because the people who were into praying were there and they were praying the entire time that they were walking. The people that that's not their thing, they were sitting there still thinking about all these people that are experiencing that. And Casey Street Hope had a table there. And one thing that's really awesome for us is that people are finally starting to talk about human trafficking. But the thing with human trafficking is that it's not just people being shipped in from out of the country. It's people right here in Kansas City.
Yes.
So that's a big thing that Casey Street Hope tries to focus on, is letting people know that it is happening right here in Kansas City, not just in the rougher areas. Johnson County also has kids that are experiencing this, or teenagers that are experiencing this. So being able to educate the community on that, whether it's with schools, churches, police departments.
So I have a question. There, I saw something that was trending. It was #MeToo. And I know that you guys are advocates for sexual assault. How did you feel when you saw women that were tweeting and they were putting on Facebook, "Me Too"? I mean, some even women were just supporting someone they knew. I mean, how did that feel to see that?
I was really proud to see so many people stepping forward, but at the same time, I ended up reposting something that somebody else said that was basically, even if you're secretly holding your Me Too, that's okay. You don't need to share your story with anybody. You don't owe that to anyone. But for the people that did feel empowered to say that, it was really encouraging to see how many of those people found comfort in knowing they weren't alone.
Yes.
So you're not happy that that happened to anybody else, but you want to know that you're not alone in this, that, hey, if it happened to this many people, maybe I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe this does happen to people even when they try to be safe.
And that's amazing. And all of you guys are just doing so many amazing things. And I was like, I want to fit all 30 people in here, but I can't because there's 4 mics. So I can't do that. So I'm going to go to Sheldon. You said you are the president of House of Compassion. And can you tell us about House of Compassion and what it is and kind of the mission for it?
Sure. So it's a boys group home, state license, ages 12 to 17. We've been open for 5.5 years, going on our 6th year. And basically we work with guys who are in the foster care system. They've experienced neglect, abuse, homelessness, and there's this stigma where you automatically think that the kids we work with are bad kids. These are kids that skip school, do drugs, they commit crimes. And in most cases, these kids come from an environment or a situation that had nothing to do with them. We have one young man with us right now. He was out playing with friends, and one day he heard a gunshot and he ran home because he was scared. He was about 8 years old. And when he walked in the door, it was his mother laying on the ground in a puddle of blood, and the gunshots were in his living room. And so he went through years hospitalized for cutting himself and being depressed and acting out at school. And he's now with us today, and he's a star athlete doing extremely well, and all of that is behind him. So we work with cases like that, and like you said, we love educating the community because if you just saw the bad behaviors, I'll label it that, the bad behaviors, you would just automatically assume, okay, this is a troubled kid, not knowing all of these things. So we really try to get to know our clients. We don't call them clients, but just for a conversation, we get to know our guys and understand their history, their background, and then whatever that goal is for them, whether that's independent living or reunifying with parents, grandparents, whatever, that's what we do. And it's really, really good work. And yeah.
That's awesome because, when I started my nonprofit, it was for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I found that a Black girl was actually cutting herself, and I was like, Black girls don't do that. And like, yeah, they do, and they actually go through suicidal thoughts and all that. And I was like, wow, really? Yeah. And so from there, I started, and our mission is to uplift, encourage, and heal hurting hearts. And so that's amazing that there is someone who cares about men, young men in this community
Sure.
who need that, because I believe young men, they don't voice it as much as women do. Young women, like when we're going through, oh, let me write on Facebook and tell you what my boyfriend did.
We don't express like you
Don't
guys.
express
We'll
like
hold it all
that.
in. Yeah.
Let me get on there and say, you don't do that. And so I saw that you actually adopted someone you were mentoring.
Yeah.
You mentored him for 2 years, I believe.
He was in the home.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
how does that feel and was there anyone who's like, I don't think you should go that route?
Yeah,
Are you
absolutely.
sure you want to do
Yeah.
that?
So my life is kind of cut in half. I have my photography, videography business, which is doing well. And then I have my philanthropy work with the group home. And so my brain is kind of split in two. And most people say, you don't have enough time to return my calls. How are you going to adopt a child? And some moments I was scratching my head like, I don't know. But no, I met him through the group home. He was, again, one of those kids that really, really smart, really bright, sweet kid, and needed an opportunity. And we happened to have a really good relationship, almost off the bat. I don't know if I ever believed in love at first sight, but I feel like that's probably the closest that I've ever felt to love at first sight. And so after time passed, me and him both just organically came up, and I said, well, if it ever came down to it, I would definitely go that route if you want to. And he's, well, I wanted to ask you about adoption forever. So it ended up happening. He moved in last year. The adoption was finalized in May. And he's a great kid. A's and B's and just really, really happy.
That's good. We're going to have to talk about your the second half of the show. We're going to have to talk about your photography business because someone actually mentioned, I remember now that you've been in my email because someone actually reached out when we had our wedding. Oh, here's someone. I know you were listed as these are the amazing photographers here in Kansas City. So we have to talk about that. My question for you, Bobby, is what would you say was one of the most frustrating moments as you were starting your career and trying to find the right job, coming out of school? Because a lot of college students are going through depression because they're like, I graduated, this is my degree, now I'm lost, I'm stuck. What do I do?
Yeah, it's a challenge I think that still endures to an extent, but I think for me it was about finding the balance of meshing my talents with the impact that I want to have in the world. And I started out in college as a business student, and as I was going through that curriculum, it just never really seemed to resonate with something that was fulfilling to how I wanted to change and better the world. And something that just kept coming up, a common theme was that I had a knack for writing, and so I was like, well, I also love traveling, so I'm like, maybe there's something in journalism for me. Maybe I could be an international correspondent or something. So that kind of just launched me into discovery of storytelling, and that really led up to use of my love for telling stories. And so it's cool to hear about your photography business, Sheldon. I love photography as well, and starting one myself. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
it kind of goes together, like
exactly.
You take cool pictures, like, okay, now I can write a piece of this.
Yeah. But I'd say that was probably the biggest challenge is how do I do something that I love and make a difference, make a dollar.
Yeah, and I think that's good because some people, they get to college and say, I need to chase this dollar sign and chase this dollar sign, and then they get in there and like, I don't think I like this, and they realize they're not really doing what they're passionate about or what they really were born and made to do, and so that can even be frustrating. And so I don't know if anybody else want to kind of chime in. What was this last question before you go on break? What is like what was a frustrating moment as you're like coming out of college or coming out of wherever, just stepping into your career? What was like that before frustration?
Well, I'm poor, first off. I'm a college student. So
That's frustrating.
Thank you. That's when he gets it. So trying to run a nonprofit, which is very expensive, especially when you're like starting with nothing. Because I literally bought the domain for like $20. I was like, ooh, I have money for that. Again, I was 17.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Squarespace.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, this is $200 a year. I'm not even making $200 a year.
So let's just do the $14 a month.
Exactly. And then like every month it's like, oh, I need $14. But no, it's really frustrating because, you know, I'm collecting college debt and I'm in college and I'm like, you want to major in something that you think is going to support you so you can do the things that you're actually passionate about. So it's like, it's that awkward phase of like finding that right balance between I want to do this, but I want to make sure I have the means to do it. And I majored in strategic communication because I really love PR, like marketing. So yeah, no, it's just been incredibly challenging because I think, you know, when you are starting a business, you have to be able to show that, yes, it's something that I love and it has like a greater meaning than what I'm doing, but can I feasibly sustain this? And so I think that's something that everyone goes through. It's like a weird little thing.
Yeah, I'll chime in for sure. And people are yelling at me. I'm not in the pew, so let me move over a little bit. Hi, people. I'll give a really quick frustrating moment. And I love this frustrating moment, which is why I really want to share it. Almost right out of high school, I was hired at a Fortune 100 company, Hewlett Packard, which I thought could have easily have been my career job and where I would work at until retirement. Was laid off 5 years after. They cut the team in half and they said, we don't need half of you guys, you're out. And that was by far the biggest frustrating thing that had ever happened up until that point in my career. And now when I look back, that was the best thing for me. The most frustrating thing was the best thing because it kind of pushed me into entrepreneurship. It allowed me to start NMG Studios, and I also had the time to explore the group home and figure out how I could run that. I would not have been able to do all that while working at HP. So yeah, sometimes I guess I would just end by saying the frustrating moment could really be the moment that you figure the big moment, the real career move. So don't let it discourage you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I know that some of you have to go, but we're going to go on break real fast. And we have the ceremony coming up, so we'll see each other again in a couple of weeks. And so, yes, we're just going to go on break. Bobby, I know you have to go, so thank you for coming in on today. And I might have to do a whole nother interview with you guys individually. I'm having to do all this before I graduate. Okay, we're going to go on break here. Hello, listeners out there, and welcome back to the Makayla Simone Show here on k-ru.org. Again, it is Wednesday, October 18th, and I am just so excited that I have some amazing Inc. 30 Under 30 honorees in here, which we were just talking about the first half of the show, just the excitement for us to get actually selected for Inc. Magazine 30 Under 30. And just realizing, is this spam? Like, did we really get recognized to be a part of Inc. Magazine? And so I'm just going to kind of jump right back in with just some questions that are going to inspire listeners who are out there. Sheldon, I want to start with you because I promised you that I would talk about your photography business. So give us an intro of your photography business and what you do there, because you guys do so many amazing things, so we're going to try to touch it all. That's what we do.
Sure. Well, I'll be really quick. So the company name is NMG Studios. It stands for Neal Media Group. Neal's my last name. And we do photography and videography for events. We have a really big wedding business. We get to travel. The furthest we've gone is Jamaica. We do a lot of things in town. We've been to Atlanta, Chicago, a lot of really fun places, shooting weddings and events. I have a great team. My younger brothers work with me, so that's fun. And it's a lot of fun. So yeah, nmgstudios.com.
Okay, so since you just introduced that, we just had Spencer that just walked up in the studio, say hey.
What's up?
Yes. So we did kind of an intro of everyone at the beginning of the show and just kind of what they do in the community and things like that. So can you tell us, I know you just kind of hopped in, but that's okay because I already knew you were coming at this time. So let us know, listeners out there, because like I said earlier, this Makayla Simone Show is about showcasing entrepreneurs, leaders, innovators, people who are doing amazing things here. So tell us what you do and who you are.
Sure. So my name is Spencer Hardwick. I'm currently the Chief of Staff at Teach for America, Kansas City. Our organization is a non-for-profit that recruits, trains, and develops teachers and brings them to the Kansas City area to serve in our highest needs schools. That's kind of what I do. Also on the side, I'm a DJ, and I also run the Wire KC, which is an email network for Black professionals to keep them connected throughout the city.
That's awesome. And so I saw that you served also as a mentor for Generation Rap.
Yep.
I
yep,
love Generation Rap.
KPRS.
Shout out to India because she is amazing of working with those youth.
The queen.
And, so why is it? Let's just lead to this question. Why is it important for for students and youth to have mentorship in Kansas City? Because I remember when I was in high school, my coaches were more my mentors, but I didn't really have that mentor where it's like, okay, this is, I have my mom, but that one person that you're like, I kind of don't want to go to my mom about that because I don't know how she's going to respond to that. So why is it so important to have mentorship? I mean, you adopted someone you've been mentoring, so that's amazing. Why is this important?
I mean, when you think about education in general, the most powerful types of education are when you change someone's perspective, you change their worldview. We're in the middle of the country, so we don't get a lot of exposure in terms of different oceans,
Right.
or we're not the media capital of the world. So anytime you can have anyone of power and influence step into your classroom and say, wow, I didn't know that you could be a lawyer. I didn't know that you could be a radio show host. I didn't know that you could be an entrepreneur. What's an entrepreneur? You look like me. Anytime you can get a student to connect part of their identity, whether it's racial, socioeconomic, or the city you're from, to a profession, you're really opening up their eyes to what's possible. And we're a generation that really reacts to, I gotta see it first. So anytime you can be a living and breathing example of that, just by being in a space, kids soak up everything about you. So just everyone's presence at this table has power in the classroom because of who they are.
That is true. That is so true. And even I think of me, being 22, I'm still young, just got out of high school. No, I'm kidding. But I think even for me, I realized that I still need mentors. And as you grow and you develop, I know like people who are really seasoned in this life, like in their 40s and 50s or whatever, who have mentors. So I would say for anyone else, anybody else want to try to chime in on that?
I definitely will. For another thing, that's a great point. Mentors also push you out of your comfort zone. And I think that is a great piece of mentorship. I know that I do that with the guys that I mentor. Sometimes we like to just go with what's safe because that's what we're used to, that's what we're comfortable with. And sometimes a mentor can give you a little nudge and say, hey, try that. And you wouldn't even have thought about it because you were thinking safe. And so I know that I try to do that when I mentor, and that's a really, really good lesson for people who are mentoring and for people who need a mentor. You want a mentor that is not scared to push you a little bit.
I also think that you're never too old to stop learning. There's always something to be discovered no matter how old you are, no matter what profession you're in. For me in particular, I went to Los Angeles last winter break and I stayed with a KU alum, MOCSA, and she had graduated from the same school of journalism as I did, and she is just this incredible lady who worked for the Obama administration, and she's just so passionate about so many things. And I looked at her, and I was not really expecting to find a mentor because it was just supposed to be a housing situation. But I met her, and often, like almost instantly, I was like, this is somebody who is passionate about so many things. And not only does she care about them, she like goes out and like chases after what she wants, and she really cares about the community that she lives in. And to me, that was an instant role model, and I've been in touch with her ever since because I'm so inspired by the work that she does. So I also think it's important that the mentors that you find can be in the most unexpected of places when you're least expecting them. And it's so important to, if you find someone that you really connect with, look up to them, like talk to them, because you can learn so much from them.
Yeah. I think the people that were most influential for me, I have awesome parents, but you don't always want to go to your parents when you're in high school. I had a coach, shout out to Terry Spann, Facebook Live. Terry Spann was my coach, and she was tough. She was brutal, but she made you realize you were capable of more than you knew you were capable of. So I ended up going off and playing college volleyball. If it wasn't for her pushing me, I don't know if that would have happened. And then I had a college volleyball coach, Shalina Goshi. She was another person. She's 5'1", but was asked to be on the United States volleyball team. 5'1" volleyball.
You think
Usually
it's
you're
possible.
like 6'3",
Right.
but she has a work ethic that's like nobody else's, and she teaches you the work ethic that you apply to volleyball right now is going to apply when you get into the real world. And sure enough, it did. You have to know where to have grace with yourself and know that you need a break. And I think a good mentor is good at teaching you how to really, really push yourself before you give yourself that break.
Yes, that's good. What everyone said, because mentors are needed, and sometimes you do things that, like, I did everything in high school. I was a cheerleader, I was a dancer, I don't know how I did it. To this day, I don't know how I did it, but I loved it all, and I learned something from each and every moment, each and every activity that I was in. But however, I didn't realize that I was trying to find my success through just sports, something I was good at, but it may not be something I was passionate about. So my next question would be, what would you define success? Because I literally went off to college. I tried the basketball thing. I didn't like it. And then I tried the cheerleading thing. I didn't like it. I tried dance. They offered me back. I said, yeah, absolutely, I'm not coming back. Because, I was just trying to, I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to make peers proud. I'm doing this. I did this in high school. And so, but I realized that wasn't the true definition of success. I actually was like, oh, snaps. I'm really passionate about seeing young girls healed and seeing young girls uplifted, and even the youth that I work with, like at my church, like, this is it. Like, and just you guys coming on this show today, I'm like, this is, for me, like, I'm getting ready to graduate, but this is success for me because I'm serving my community, and I'm serving people that to showcase them right here on this show. I always say this is Makayla Simone show, but it's about Makayla Simone bringing on these amazing leaders. So what would you define success, if you want to hop in on that?
Yeah, so I think that you already hit the nail on the head. It really has to be something that you define for yourself. America is going to do a bang-up job on telling you what they think success should be. They're going to tell you it's the amount of money you make, it's the car you drive, it's the job you have, it's the amount of people that you touch rather than the depth of the person that you interact with. They're going to tell you how many likes it is on Facebook. All these things are baked in to tell you that you are or not successful. And what you've already done and what you already see is that it really has to be something that you define for yourself. So really quick story. There's a guy who's going to get a promotion at work, and he told his boss, I've already hit my dream jobs. Like, this guy was like at the quote unquote bottom of the company. And so the boss asked him, what do you mean? You have so much more room to grow. He said, I get off work at enough time to see my kids. I get to spend time with my family. I get to enjoy my weekends. I make enough money to be comfortable. I am happy. I don't need anything else. So when you're defining success, it involves stepping back and thinking about what works for me, not necessarily works for what everybody else or what everyone else wants for me.
Yeah. So I have my own personal success story, or sort of related to success. But coming out of high school, I had a very definite idea of what success was. I had this idea that I was going to get this 4.0, and I was going to get this many followers for Project Consent, and I was going to get my degree and all this stuff. And I thought if I had the numbers, that would mean success. If I win this many awards, if I get on this list, etc. But the only time I've truly felt like I was successful was when a high school student came up to me. We had never met before. I was speaking at a conference. She came up to me after the show was done, and she said, I was sexually assaulted, and I was contemplating taking my own life until I heard about what you were doing at Project Consent and how you were giving hope. And it was the first time in my life I actually felt like I was making a difference. And that just completely changed my idea of success completely. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what award I win or how many people follow me on Instagram or just any of that. None of that matters. But is the work I'm doing genuine? And is the work I'm doing actually helping people like I want it to? And to me, that's success. That's success because you can't measure that. And it's kind of to me, success and like personal satisfaction, and that kind of intertwines together. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
I think sexual violence community is a little different when you identify success, because after somebody experiences that type of trauma, like any trauma, healing isn't linear. So you might be in a really rough spot, and then you get a little bit better, and then you have a really rough day, you have a nightmare, something triggers that trauma. Does that mean that you haven't healed? No, absolutely not. It's just there are ups and downs when it comes to healing. So I think success with the sexual violence world is so much more long term. So it's more, let's look back in 15 years and see how things have gone after that. A lot of the people that we work with, whether it's with MOCSA or whether it's with KC Street Hope, if they've experienced trafficking and they can't go to a certain side of town because it brings back too much for them, or they can't go to the movies, or they can't go to certain things, but they're able to get help, and then eventually they can go and they feel fine and they aren't having panic attacks or their blood's racing. It's a good experience for them to be able to heal and get to experience things that other people wouldn't necessarily think twice about. I think that is huge success, but I can't even claim that, because as much as you can be there for somebody and be supportive of them, it's a choice to go through that healing journey. So one thing we'll tell them is there's the pain of holding it in and not trying to heal. And then there's the pain of facing it head on and fighting toward healing. Both of them hurt and both of them are hard, but one of them you feel a lot better in the long run. So I definitely can't claim that, but being able to be there for them, I think would be.
Yeah, so you definitely nailed it when you were talking about how you were feeling and when you ultimately found what makes you happy. Success for me is happy. Success for me is there's no dollar sign attached to it. It's 100% happy. And I also have a really quick story. When I was working at HP, there was a really like a vice president, and he, I would go in his office and help him with his computer all the time, and he had every beat you can imagine on his wall. He had I can't remember what kind of car he had, but it was like a BMW or Porsche or something, and always dressed super nice, and you just knew that this guy had a lot of money. And I would say, man, I can't wait to get to that point where I'm living a life like him and he's on vacation every other Friday. One day, he interrupted me from working and he said, "Hey, Sheldon, do you like what you do?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do you love what you do?" And I said, "Yeah, I love it." And he said, "Well, that's good, because that's not the case for everyone. It's not even the case for me." And my whole world was turned upside down, because I'm in my mind thinking, my 19, 20-year-old self, thinking that he has made it and he's the happiest and this is the destination. He was miserable. And he said that if he could trade places with me, he would totally trade places with me if I was happy with where I was at. It totally changed my definition for being rich and being successful. For me, rich, if we're all in this room and we're all happy right now, then we're all rich by my definition. Rich and being successful, that means happy.
Right, and that is, that's powerful, because you even see celebrities who have committed suicide.
Absolutely.
Been on the biggest platforms ever, like celebrities who they even sexual assaulted, and maybe that's why they took their life. There is so, I always use this analogy that the book looks great before you open it and actually start to read people's story.
Mm-hmm.
The cover is nice, what they look like is nice on the cover, until you actually open it and you realize, wow, I never thought they went through anything like this. And so someone mentioned something, a couple of you mentioned that it's not defined off of my Instagram or my Facebook, and I think, especially for millennials, people are really starting to define their success off of their followers, off of, how many people are on their Twitter account, whatever. And I remember I had to kind of step back and say, oh, this is great that, this has got many likes or whatever, but I can't dwell on that, because I still have goals to reach. Yeah, that's great. If it happens, it happens. But sometimes, I remember me and my husband promoting an event, and we didn't get any love on it. We didn't get any likes. We were like, somebody sees it, so why am I going to delete it? This is what we're doing. But people are defined. So what would you say to someone who is literally maybe sitting at their home right now and just uploading stuff that looks good, but not really sitting back, and because sometimes we need to shut down. Social media shut down. Everyone has to go through that, because you get so caught up and you start to compare lives, and people literally sit all day. Sometimes you just compare their lives of, hey, they're doing this. Okay, what can I say? What can I do?
So that's interesting, because I used to be a blogger a couple years ago, and a lot of my job is very much defined by social media. I'm paid and I will admit that I'm paid by brands for sponsorship, and that really does depend on social media engagement. So that's a huge part of my life. But the thing I always tell myself is, at the end of the day, when you log out of Instagram, when you log out of Twitter, who's there for you? You know, who are your friends who will show up without expecting to be on Instagram, without posting it, you know? And I'm very fortunate to have just such a close group of friends I can call family. You know, I have so many friends who will be there for me, not because it looks good on social media, not because they're benefiting out of it, because they genuinely care about me. And so once I realized I had that, the idea of making myself look that I'm something that I'm not on social media just goes away. Because, you know, you can delete your account in an instant, and then that just completely goes away. You know, you lose that part of you. But the part that can never be taken away from you is the friendships that you gain, especially throughout college history, you know, for me especially. And knowing that I have people who have my back no matter what, and who do support me and my career, is just invaluable. Whereas social media is what? Just a number. It's people who think that they know you based off something that they see on a pixel.
I have a quick question. How do you use social media for good? You know, because some people are like, social media is so bad, so much stuff, but there are some good things that you can reach people on there. It is the tool to get stuff out these days. Like, sometimes, I mean, you got an event, you're like, oh, pass out these flyers, and millennials especially are like, no, just send it to my phone or send it to my Facebook. So how do you use that actually for the good, especially when you're trying to, you know, build a business or whatever, you know?
Right. Casey Street Hope will post things. We just started our Instagram probably a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, because there are so few of us that are working to do this, that it's a lot to balance. But one thing that we try to do whenever we post things that are about healing is we'll hashtag things that maybe someone who's hurting would hashtag. So hashtag heartbroken, hashtag sadness, hashtag whatever it is that they would be doing so that we can reach them too. And really how this entire thing started, I shared my testimony on YouTube. And I was really, really, really nervous to do that. Did you?
I did.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for watching. You never know who's going to see them. And for anybody who hasn't watched it, I was raped when I was a freshman in college.
Wow.
And I was horrified about telling anybody. I couldn't tell my teammates. I didn't want to tell my coach. I was living far away. My parents were in Arizona and I was in New York. I didn't want to call them and say, hey guys, guess what happened this weekend? But years pass. I'm in a good place. I decide I want to share that story and talk about my faith through that. So how God was able to really show me that he was always by my side and what that looked like. And that video, which was really scary to post, ended up helping people. And that was my hope for it. But to actually see that come into fruition was incredible.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, with you, I mean, I've had moments where I share my story, and literally, like you said, you know, your faith in whoever your faith in. My faith is in Christ. I'm a woman of faith, and so I just think it's just amazing. I mean, especially for healing. Like, one thing that I tell my girls, like, it's God who has to do this healing for you. Like, this process, sometimes it's you and him alone. I have girls who are just really going through, and I'm like, I can believe with you, but I can't believe for you, right? We can believe, we can stand in faith together. So my last thing, though, before we wrap the show, I want to make sure Spencer gets some talk time in here. But you're doing amazing things for the community. And, you know, so one of my questions for you would be, you know, you were in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were in New York for a little bit. What's the difference between, I mean, New York is, they say it's a fast life. I've never been there.
Right.
But, you know, did you do any education in New York, or was that more here in Kansas City?
So I was a teacher in Dallas before that, and I moved to New York to actually take a job on Wall Street. I was an institutional sales analyst at Goldman Sachs. So in terms of the question of what's the difference between New York and Kansas City, obviously New York is a much larger city. There, you know, you got celebrities, you got a lot of cultural resources, I'll say. But I'll say one of the big differences that people often talk about is Kansas City is a city for builders. New York is a city for people to just kind of consume. So if you think about going back to social media, one thing to help you build value is, are you a producer or are you a consumer? In Kansas City, you have a stage where you can produce a lot of good for people. And if you focus your product on doing good for people, everything else will come because you're focused on what people are getting from you instead of what can people give to me. So her story has a ton of value to many women and men around the world. And so she's able to get a lot of traction with that. So I would say focus on being a producer in Kansas City, and that definitely amplifies your message long term rather than focus on being just a consumer of content.
So we're about 2 minutes out. What would be, I want to go around the room, what would be your last little, I always do, on my previous shows, I usually do Wisdom Wednesday because they always trend on Twitter. What would be like a wisdom, like something that the listeners can take away? And I'm sure people hear more about us because we have this event coming up. But what would be some, just something to take away? I mean, I know you guys have a lot, but
I have 2 short ones. Oh, sorry.
No, please don't. I'm still thinking.
Okay, I have 2 short ones. One of them would be, no matter what you experience, no matter what, your value is unconditional. Your value is not determined based on the things that you experience or the things that you attain or whatever. You are valuable no matter what. And the other one, what was I going to say? If there's something you want to do, go for it. You could always have more money. There could always be more stability. You could always have more time. But if there's something that you want to go after, try it. Commit even an hour a week, anything. And I know there's some people that are like, I don't have an hour a week. Make the hour a week. Yes. Start doing something. If it's on your heart, go after it.
I would say the word that kept coming up in my head when you were talking about social media and how do you use it for good. I think the word that kept coming in my head was intent. And I know whenever I make any business decisions or any decisions with the guys I mentor or just any personal decisions within the household, I always try to make sure that my intent is right. My intent is in check and my ego is not taking over. We all can be guilty of projecting our own stuff into things. If you always walk into it with a really good intent, I think you'll always be okay.
It's good.
I'll say life isn't about how you act, it's more about how you react. We're all going to go through adverse times, we're all going to go through difficult situations. What's really going to tell you who you are as a person is how you respond in that moment. And so be thoughtful of the way that you're responding to particularly adversity, because that will tell you a lot about where you are. I'll also say the second thing, often you are the average of the 5 closest people around you. So be very thoughtful about who are the people you share space with, who you have conversations with, because you end up becoming a part of them and they become a part of you.
All right. Anyone else have anything? Did you have any last?
So the one motto that I try to live my life by is be optimistic in everything that you do. Because we get one life, we get this one lifetime to make a difference, to be happy. And I think why spend that, being miserable, being cynical? Why not live with the idea that you can truly become someone wonderful and that you can be hopeful and not letting everything that you've done in the past or that's been done to you get to you? Because, we all endure things, we all suffer, we all have our heartaches and whatnot. But why let that define us when we can be optimistic and we can hope for a better future, not only for ourselves, but for others? So,
amazing.
Just live with love.
Yes. Thank you all for, give yourself a round of applause for in the studio. So, yes, thank you, listeners, for just tuning in to the Makayla Simone Show with Inc. 30 Under 30 Honorees. And if you want to join us, the 30 Under 30 Honorees, we will be at the WeWork at Kerrigan Station on November 2nd from 6 to 9 p.m. to celebrate these people right here in this room. And you can get your tickets by visiting incunder30.com. Grab your ticket today. It's going to be amazing for those who are just trying to figure out what's next. These are some amazing people. So this is all for the Makayla Simone Show, and I will see you guys all next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Makayla Simone Show from 12 to 1 p.m. on k-ru.org. If you missed the show today, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Makayla Simone Show, and watch online. And don't forget to live your success on purpose. See you next week.